Jake Sherman is co-founder of Punchbowl News and an MS Now political contributor. Joining me here in studio, MS Now Capitol Hill reporter Kevin Fry, and Julie Roginski is Democratic strategist and author of the Salty Politics newsletter on Substack. So there are bipartisan calls, as you know, Kevin, for Swalwell to step down. You actually had a conversation one-on-one with the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries. What did he tell you?
Yeah, so I mean, he's not being committal on exactly what his position is going to fall on this. He has come out, along with other top Democrats, saying he needed to drop out of the governor's race. And Swalwell, of course, has taken that step. But he's not calling, at least so far, for him to drop out of Congress. And so I asked him, I'm like, OK, square this circle. Why does it rise to the level that he needs to get out of this race? But at the same time, he can stay in Congress. Here is some of that exchange.
Serious allegations that are best addressed not as a candidate in a political environment where all of us need to actually be focused on articulating a vision that is designed to push back against Donald Trump's extremism and lay out a case for how we are actually going to improve the lives of the American people without distraction.
Well, I mean, couldn't it be a distraction in Congress, too?
Well, he certainly is not in a position to run for re-election at this point.
Which is kind of sidestepping the question, because obviously if he's running for governor at the same time, he can't be running for Congress, and so he's not doing both, and now it's seemingly not doing either. One thing to keep an eye on this week is that, and Jeffries told me this, they're going to be talking about this idea of, are they going to be censuring? Would they do expulsion? If there's a vote, what is he going to encourage his members to do? They have a meeting, as they do basically every week when they're in Washington, House Democrats. That's currently likely going to be on Wednesday morning, so we could have some idea of where the week is going coming out of that.
Julie, what does this do for Democrats? I mean, there are a lot of people asking the question, oh, this is serious enough that he can't run for governor, that he isn't morally on high ground to be governor, but he could stay in Congress?
Well, look, I spoke to one of the survivors at length over the last several days, and she is prepared to testify under oath to the House Ethics Committee. The House Ethics Committee has said it's in their rules that if you have a sexual relationship with a staffer or somebody who's a direct report to you, this could lead to penalties up to and including expulsion. If she testifies, if the House Ethics Committee opens up an investigation, I assume they will, and she brings the evidence that she claims she has, and she brings her testimony, I don't see a way that he can stay. I will say that this could potentially be a solution for both Republicans and Democrats. As you said, there are 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats who are in a position right now to be expelled. If Jeffries gets together with the Speaker and they decide, OK, this is not going to reduce our equilibrium in Congress because it's 2 and 2, do it all in one resolution and get him out of there, that could potentially be a solution. I personally, having spoken to the survivor, believe that he not only should not be in Congress, he needs to really be looked into as to what he did in a criminal way. I mean,
which is what the Manhattan DA's office is looking at. But do you see that as a possibility? They just take them all down?
I mean, it's a complicated maneuver in terms of just how House procedure would follow in that sort of way. And part of it is there good faith belief between the Democrats and the Republicans that, OK, we do this one next and then we do this one. Like, will they actually follow through on what they're deciding to do? The other thing to keep in mind, as you mentioned, the Ethics Committee, is there is this question of precedent. And obviously, the George Santos case is the most recent example of the expulsion mechanism. But if you do something before the Ethics Committee has released their report, like when is the lever pulled to actually expel someone on the allegation part, even if it is backed up with very dramatic and very compelling testimony, or is it once the Ethics Committee does their work? And keep in mind, the Ethics Committee can take months, years to actually produce anything.
Yeah, in an election season, Jake, does anybody want to drag this out?
Well, that's a difficult question. I don't think anyone wants to drag it out, but Mike Johnson has made the case repeatedly when it comes to Tony Gonzalez and other members under a cloud of ethics trouble that the Ethics Committee should render its opinion.
Same reason, right? For allegations of having some sort of sexual relationship with a staffer.
Yes, but by the way, that's not everybody in this bundle, right? Sheila Shurflis McCormick has non-sexual allegations against her, and she's actually the farthest along in the ethics process. I agree with Kevin that it would be very difficult to see Congress just go across the board and expel all of these folks, especially when several of them, again, have not been through the whole ethics process, no matter how obscenely bad some of these allegations are. And remember, 2/3 to expel someone from Congress. It's a privilege vote, so it would go to the floor regardless, but you need 2/3. You need only a simple majority to table an expulsion resolution or send it to committee. So the most likely scenario is probably that if an expulsion resolution comes up, that someone would try to send it to the ethics committee for consideration and try to start an investigation that way.
So then there is, Julie, obviously Swalwell was leading in the race for California governor, at least leading Democrat, right? A very messy race already. Now it's even more chaotic. A political columnist at the San Francisco Chronicle wrote this: if California Democrats are going to tear down signs and rename holidays and schools after learning more about an icon like Cesar Chavez, they sure as hell better not spare Swalwell, a white dude from suburban Dublin. So much for Democrats being the party that protects women. How much of that is the subtext to what we're seeing right now?
Look, I will say this. You had virtually every single person, I think actually all 21 people in California and elsewhere who endorsed Swalwell immediately over the last 3 days pulled their endorsement. His staff, both in Congress and in his campaign, came out and said, we don't think that he should continue his campaign. You had the speaker saying what he said to you, the leader saying what he said to you, but also saying earlier that he doesn't think that Swalwell should run for governor. So I would actually say that they've done a hell of a lot more than Republicans have done, either with Gonzalez or with Donald Trump, or looking into the Epstein files and why they haven't been released. I mean, this is not a partisan issue for me. This is something I do every day, work with survivors. So I will tell you right now that I don't care if Swalwell is a Democrat or a Republican. I think he needs to go. But the truth of the matter is a lot of Democrats agree with me. I will say this, though. I will say this directly to the Democrats who think this is some MAGA plant or this is some ploy by one of his opponents in the governor's race. Just stop. Just stop. You sound like crazy MAGA people who think that Donald Trump was set up by E. Jean Carroll and others. And I'm telling you right now, this is not a ploy. These people are legitimate. They have horrible stories. And once you hear them in detail, you will understand why this man does not deserve to be anywhere near Capitol Hill or the governor's mansion.